The climate of the Earth has shifted over time. There have been 8 cycles of ice ages and warmer times in the previous 800,000 years, with the end of the last ice age at 11,700 years ago, marking the beginning of the current climate era and human civilization. Long-term changes in temperature and weather patterns are referred to as climate change. Such changes can occur naturally as a result of variations in the sun's activity or massive volcanic eruptions. However, since the 1800s, human activities have been the primary cause of climate change, owing mostly to the use of fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and gas. It is obvious that human activities have generated atmospheric gases that have captured more of the sun's energy in the Earth system. Burning fossil fuels, for example, produces greenhouse gas emissions such as methane and carbon dioxide that behave like a blanket wrap around the Earth, retaining heat from the sun and elevating temperatures. According to the National Aeronautics and Space Administration (NASA), the amount of carbon dioxide released from anthropogenic activity is growing at a rate that is around 250 times faster than it did from natural sources following the last ice age. This can be proved by substantial evidence for fast climate change, such as worldwide temperatures are rising, the ocean is warming, glaciers are melting, sea level is rising, severe events are becoming more often, and ocean acidification is growing.
The cause of climate change is the increase in temperature on the Earth, owing mainly to human activities. But why has the Earth's temperature risen?
The Earth is surrounded by the atmosphere, a thin gaseous layer which allows part of the solar radiation to penetrate. This layer contains gases called greenhouse effect gases to absorb part of the energy received and maintain the temperature of the planet. The same effect is produced on greenhouse. A greenhouse is an enclosed structure made of plastic or glass used to grow crops, flowers, or plants. The walls in the ceilings allow sunlight to come through inside the greenhouse to warm it up. This way, we manage to maintain temperature and humidity and optimum condition plants to grow. One of the main greenhouse effect gases is carbon dioxide. Over the past centuries, gases like CO2 in the atmosphere become more abundant, and its capacity to retain the solar radiation has increased, resulting in the rising of planet temperature seen as the greenhouse. But the increase of these gases is bad for the Earth.
Why have they become more abundant in the atmosphere?
With the Industrial Revolution, CO2 emissions started to rise owing to the use of fossil fuel like coal and oil. Nowadays, traffic in the cities, car or airplanes produce great CO2 emissions. A great part of the energy we consume is generated using fossil fuel. Every time we leave the lights on or any electronic device, we are sending more CO2 to the atmosphere. Factories are another source of CO2 emission to produce plastic, for example. We use fossil fuel and we need a large amount of electrical energy to do so. Did you know that the textile industry is highly pollutant? Next, intensive farming is also responsible for greenhouse effect gas emissions. Lastly, wildfire emit large amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. These add more CO2 to the atmosphere, thereby making our planet hotter.
Climate change will continue to have a significant impact on ecosystems and organisms, though they are not impacted equally. The Arctic is one of the ecosystems most vulnerable to the effect of climate change, as it is warming at least twice the rate of the global average, and melting land ice sheets and glaciers contribute dramatically offsite, leading to sea level rise around the globe.
Some living things are able to respond to climate change. Some plants are blooming earlier and some species may expand their geographic range. But these changes are happening too fast for many other plants and animals, as increasing temperatures and changing precipitation patterns stress ecosystems. Some invasive or nuisance species like lionfish and ticks may thrive in even more places because of climate change. Changes are also occurring in the ocean. The ocean absorbs about 30% of the carbon dioxide that is released into the atmosphere from the burning of fossil fuels. As a result, the water is becoming more acidic, affecting marine life. Sea levels are rising due to thermal expansion, in addition to melting ice sheets and glaciers, putting coastal areas at greater risk of erosion and storm surge. The compounding effects of climate change are leading to many changes in ecosystems. Coral reefs are vulnerable to many effects of climate change. Warming waters can lead to coral bleaching, stronger hurricanes can destroy reefs, and sea level rise can cause corals to be smothered by sediment. Coral reef ecosystems are home to thousands of species which rely on healthy coral reefs to survive.
So the question is, how do we stop this? To stop global temperature rising by more than 2 degrees, greenhouse gas emissions need to fall by 2.5% every year until they reach zero.
Instead of burning fossil fuels, we need to convert to renewable energy, such as solar and wind power, which emit zero carbon emissions when operating. Energy from the sun and the wind are infinity. Unlike fossil fuels, we will never run out of them. More solar energy falls on Earth in 1 hour than all the energy that our civilization consumed in 1 year. Besides that, try to use energy-efficient light bulbs. LED light bulbs use only a fraction of the power of incandescent light bulbs. Switching to energy-saving light bulbs save 120 kilograms per household. That is 3.2 million tons of CO2 if every home in the United Kingdom followed suit. Air dry your clothes instead of using power gassing machines like dryers. Turn off electronics or lights when you're not using them.
None of those examples require a huge change in lifestyle, but if we all did all of them, we'd save 13.6 million tons of CO2 and we beat our target of reducing emission by 2.5% in the first year.
If we are willing to take more drastic measures, giving up our cars will have a significant impact. The average motorist creates 2 tons of CO2 per year and there are 35 million cars on the road. If we all gave up our cars, that's 70 million tons. Replacing your regular car with the electric car, the average person can prevent the emission of about 1 ton of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Now, we all can't afford to just buy new and different cars. So to help, you can walk or bike places, take public transportation, or if anything, ease off the accelerator and make your car as efficient as possible.
Of course, after that, educate others about climate change and the concern if we ignore them. Keep in mind that climate change is extremely real and has a significant impact on planet Earth, which is our home. And although we are the problem, we can also be the solution.